Yo, what's up, y'all? It's MMA Analyst here to do my video for, just a little topic video. A few questions that have been brought up, so I figured I would do them in the midst of my congratulations to the winner of the UFC 117 picks video, sponsored by countrymansfist.com. He wins a shirt from Countryman's Fist. Basically, it came down to three guys: Bobo 527, Cell Trox, and Super Joe Dirty. They all got 8 out of 10 right. Super Joe Dirty actually got 9 out of 10, but admitted to seeing one of them before he actually put up the fight. His pick, which was like he saw the Hallman versus Saunders fight, or at least saw the pick, the play-by-play or something somewhere online. So that one doesn't count. So 8 out of 10. But it doesn't matter. Anyways, when we went down to the tiebreakers, Cell Trox ended up taking it. He had the most points when it came to what round and minutes. I don't think anybody went by minutes, but it went to what round. But anyways, yeah, Cell Trox. Congratulations. He already gave me his information. He already knows. Good job. All right, so on to the few topics I was going to talk about. A few reoccurring questions that people had were: should Chael Sonnen get an immediate rematch? Has Anderson Silva lost his step? And what should happen between Anderson and his next opponent? Like, who should that be? Who should get the next title shot, if not Chael Sonnen? And most of all, the biggest question: GSP versus Anderson Silva. Has anything changed in my thought process? So what I'll do is I'll get right down to that last question first. A lot of people had their own way of asking these questions. Some people sent me private messages, and I respond to them. I respond to all my private messages. You send me a message, I respond to it. Simple as that. Other people, acted like fools and, little children. Which is expected, MMA is a sport filled with dumbass fans, so, you expect there to be dumbass people. So some of these dumbass people decided to try and antagonize and all type of other stuff. But that stuff don't work. But anyway, you look at it, the video is getting done, and this is one of the topics. And my response to everybody is I would definitely be a fool to not recognize something in two major fights. Jake Shields versus Dan Henderson, and of course Chael Sonnen versus Anderson Silva. Obviously, what we saw with Jake Shields versus Dan Henderson was Jake Shields, a solid wrestler, not the pedigree of Dan Henderson, which actually goes towards the point even better, and a smaller guy with really only submission wrestling and submissions in his arsenal. No stand-up. And he went up against an Olympic wrestler who spent his entire career in either 205 and 185. And as a natural 170-pounder, Jake Shields went up, went through the fire, survived the storm of the first round, came back to basically absolutely dominate Dan Henderson on the ground by takedowns and superior wrestling and superior jiu-jitsu. That's big. That's real big. Then the other thing we have is what just happened, which was Anderson Silva get taken down repeatedly by Chael Sonnen, somebody with only one style. He's got wrestling. That's it. And then those two things combined, raise the question: what would happen if GSP came out here? You before said, I'm talking about, he's too small, he wouldn't be strong enough, etc., etc., etc. Does that change anything now that you've seen Chael Sonnen do, what he did? And another argument is that GSP is not going to get caught in some last-minute triangle, which I agree with, and GSP is not going to gas. I also agree with that. And then something that a lot of people hadn't talked about was GSP is not going to put himself out there too crazily with the fight already in his grasp. He wouldn't still be going for that crazy against somebody like Anderson Silva. I don't think he would, which is a positive thing for his game. So with all of that said, has anything changed in my mind? But, in the situation, the hypothetical situation between GSP, best 175-pounder in the world, against Anderson Silva, best 185-pounder in the world. And I would say, yes, something has changed. I would be more worried regarding that fight. Before, I was totally confident. Anderson Silva would go out there. He would be able to, move around, strike, stuff some takedowns, get back up when taken down. And, he'd be all right. And although I still think that's what he would be able to do, I would be worried, as of before, where there was no thought in my mind. I was like, no, it's impossible. Now it's like, it really could happen. I wouldn't be so confident. But I still think the main things. Anderson Silva is faster. He's stronger. He is longer. He's got much better striking. And the thing about somebody like GSP is he does have good striking. But I don't think he has that same type of aggression against somebody like Anderson Silva like Chael Sonnen does. Chael Sonnen really took the fight to Anderson. And that is the big thing about why he was able to do what he did. He took the fight to Anderson. He got inside. He refused to allow Anderson to get any rhythm. He threw punches that he actually intended to drop Anderson Silva with. Not feely, jabby punches, an actual jab and then cross. So he really went out there with the intent to get into a real fight and to never give Anderson a chance to get comfortable on his feet. GSP, we've seen him against, Dan Hardy go out there and just go for the double leg and take him down and completely dominate. But I don't think he's got that aggression in him, especially against somebody like Anderson Silva, and especially since he got tagged against Matt Serra. And that's when the big change happened. He's always been a great fighter. He's always been a great wrestler. But getting tagged against Serra is when he decided, I'm never going to lose again. Not by some fluky punch. And I'm just going to be able to take other people out of their strength into a strength of mine, and I'm going to dominate people on the ground. And that's what he's been doing ever since. But against somebody like Anderson Silva, you have to get inside before you shoot. You can't just shoot from the outside. You can't throw a cheesy jab and then go for a double leg. And I still think that Georges St-Pierre, in the situation against Anderson Silva, doesn't commit to really getting on the inside. And the only way to truly get on the inside with Anderson Silva, who's not really going to come at you throwing bombs, is you have to come at him throwing something serious to actually cause him to worry about punches, and then you go for the takedown. And I don't think that GSP would do that. I think that he would want Anderson Silva to come forward, and he would then want to react. And I think that if he was going to throw punches, and if he were going to throw kicks, they would be more or less feeler kicks, range finders, not knock you out punches. And the Chael Sonnen punch that dropped Anderson Silva is the kind of punch that is needed. Yeah, Chael Sonnen's stand-up is not as good as Georges St-Pierre's, but I don't think Georges St-Pierre would rely at all on his striking anyways. So that's what I think. Immediate rematch? No. I don't like seeing immediate rematches except unless there was some type of, first of all, a huge fight, which this was, so check. And second of all, some kind of, controversy. There's no controversy here. Chael Sonnen handled his business. He did what he said he was going to do for 23 minutes and so seconds, and then he got finished decisively. He tapped. There's no question about what happened here. He went out there, he fought, he did his thing, he lost. Why should he get an immediate title shot, a rematch? BJ Penn against Frankie Edgar. Many people, including myself, probably the majority, thought that BJ Penn won that fight. Even in his not looking as good as he normally does, still think he won that fight. And many were surprised when, such a dominant guy at lightweight ended up losing this fight, and especially by decision. And some of these guys had it 4-1, and it was just controversial. And Lyoto Machida went out, and the vast majority of fight fans, pretty much everybody who's not a hardcore, and people get mad at me, whatever, blind Machida fan, thought Anderson Silva won that fight. Oh yeah, and the 3 judges. And everybody went, look, oh man, this is ridiculous. There was an uproar. Immediate title shot. Rematch. So those are, not just those two, but anytime you have something where there's controversy, where something happened in the first fight where the vast majority of the people are up in arms or something like that, yeah, immediate title shot. Immediate title rematch. But you go out there, you do your thing, and you get caught, sorry, you got your shot. What should happen next? On to the next question. Anderson Silva has broken ribs or cracked ribs. Whatever you want to call it, he's not fighting anytime probably in 2010. Chael Sonnen probably has a few stitches and some bruising, some swelling. Put some ice on it, stitch it up, give it time to heal. Meanwhile, you've got Vitor Belfort, who's waiting in the wings. Promised a title shot. Something happened. He got injured, or I don't know what. All of a sudden, Chael Sonnen's in there. Fine. Here's what we do. Chael Sonnen versus Vitor Belfort. Winner gets the shot. And then you have a situation where Chael Sonnen can maybe do what he did to Anderson to Vitor Belfort. It's only 3 rounds, not get caught in some submission. Vitor Belfort's ground game is really good, and Chael Sonnen probably still not going to learn how to properly defend against submissions. It's his 9th time or 8th time being submitted, but the point is, let those two fight each other. So that's what I think should happen. Anderson Silva should get well, heal up, come back, and fight the winner of Vitor Belfort, Chael Sonnen. If Anderson Silva were to fight Georges St-Pierre, unlike before, where I was 100% sure, I'm now about 70% sure. And that's a significant change. Significant change. And nobody really asked this, but I might as well bring it up. Is, who's the number one pound for pound guy in the world? Well, the previous number one pound for pound guy in the world, my favorite fighter, got submitted in the first round. This guy here, Anderson Silva, got his ass beat for 23 minutes and something seconds and then won by submission. Anderson Silva just finding another way to win. Number one, I still think, is Anderson Silva. And while we're at this pound for pound thing, number two, I still think, is Fedor Emelianenko. I think if you lose one time in 10 years, you don't really move too much. Number three, GSP. And then, you know what? I don't really go past that. Because these other guys, even like some guys are saying Shogun and some guy, Machida and these other guys, too much, like one fight happens and people get knocked off the list. And BJ Penn, his potential is always getting messed up by him not showing up properly. Even though he's, pound for pound number one, I think he has like 5 losses or 6 losses maybe. 2 of them to GSP, 1 to Machida, to Hughes, to Pulver, and to Edgar. So 6. And out of those 6 losses, 4 of them were out of his weight class. So I give him props for being able to move up and down, but he's losing the majority of the time he goes out of his weight class. So I just go number 3. If somebody else puts together a run worthy of being in that, crew, then we'll add a 4th, and we'll add a 5th. And if Shogun comes back healthy and he starts raping people and destroying people, then we'll add him in there. But until, and pound for pound came from boxing, and it came from people doing things over years and years and years. 40 wins, no losses. 38 wins, 1 loss. 62 wins, 3 losses. 70 wins, 4 losses. Like, that's what pound for pound came from. And if a guy loses, he doesn't get knocked off the pound for pound list because he's done so much. So you got to do a whole lot to get put on a pound for pound list in my mind. Guys like Shogun, he's doing his thing. He's handling it. He's got some of the best wins at light heavyweight, but you've got to do more, in my mind, to become pound for pound. So, there you go. Hope I answered some questions. I got that whole base thing out of the way. By the way, I'm no better right now than I was 13 years ago. I basically stopped practicing, stopped playing, and that's just what I can do from having been able to play pretty well 13 years ago. Heck, 16 years old, I could play everything I played there almost 13 years ago. So I used to be dope, but right now I'm just an old ass dude that can kind of play the bass. MMA, y'all, it's important. Peace.